Now we're going to go to our hotline. It'll be for our next guest. It was great seeing him inside the press box in Bryant-Denny Stadium on Saturday for Fan Day in Tuscaloosa and the open practice. He's been covering the Crimson Tide for over a decade now. He's written 25 books, including Nick Saban versus college football, and now he is part of BamaCentral.com and his new venture covering the Crimson Tide. His practice report has just gone up in the last 30 to 40 minutes or so, and that is, of course, Chris Walsh. Chris, it's always a pleasure to speak with you, sir. How are you this afternoon?
I'm good, and I got to say it was good being seen in the press box at Bryant-Denny Stadium. So, which is kind of a journalism joke for y'all, but the last three places I was at, the entire staffs were all liquidated. And this is all in the last 4 years. So, I'm thrilled to be back, and I'm thrilled to not to be back, but to keep going.
Yeah, it's the way journalism is. Gone the last. It's stunning, Chris. Really, the way the business has changed in the last 5 to 6 years. Honestly.
Well, I'll tell you what. We were at practice today, and so Friday and Saturday you had first practice, and you had Fan Day, Media Day. So we were all kind of curious to see how many reporters were going to be there today for practice, because it was the first one where there wasn't like some big show or side part of it kind of thing, and there were very, very few reporters, which is just it's sad, to be honest. But my last venture was SEC Country, and they went under. And before that, I was with Bleacher Report, and they decided to stop covering college football on a daily basis. Before that, I was with Saturday on South, and that didn't, they got rid of the entire staff. And you look around, and there's fewer newspapers that are covering the teams, and it's just it's not good, unfortunately. So hopefully bringing something new and exciting that people will really like. And so we've started this new thing called, Bama Central, and we're off and going. So please come and check us out.
Yeah, absolutely. Check him out at BamaCentral.com. And I guess the first thing before we go into the practice report, Mike Johnson joined us in the first hour. He told us, Chris, that he would routinely, every practice, lose 13 pounds of water weight. I know it was hot out there today. How did you turn out?
I didn't lose 13 pounds. I kind of need to, but but I think if Mike was out here today, he would have lost more than that. It was hot, and it was kind of weird because there was a storm going through Northport, so it was windy and cloudy when the players went out on the field, and then we went out there, a few minutes later, and the sun was shining. It was beating down on them. It's over 100 degrees with the heat index. I have absolutely no doubts about that. So today, yeah, it's that first day where you just go, oh yeah, we're in Alabama.
Yeah, I always felt like too it was 5 degrees hotter in Tuscaloosa than anywhere in Alabama when I lived there. It just always seemed to be just a cauldron. But now, give us what you saw today and your practice observations. Certainly, the quarterbacks are going to be a big topic of that conversation. But give us what you saw during the brief media viewing period today for the fans.
Well, I focused a little bit on the linebackers today because Dylan Moses kind of left Saturday's practice and he looked a little woozy, and I'm 90% sure it was heat related. So I wanted to see if he was out there today, and he was. He's back in his usual spot. But a couple of the reserves swapped spots. And so Chris Allen, who has been primarily an outside linebacker, was working at inside linebacker, and Ben Davis was back at the outside spot where he spent most of last season. So, versatility is going to be really, really important. But, you're going to see some of this. You're going to see some experimenting, some guys moving around. I think Chris Allen, they're kind of thinking this might be our fifth guy this year until, Terrell Lewis gets back, and that he's going to be, the guy who can step in and play at a number of different spots, including as a pass rusher, which is probably what he's best at, and just kind of be that utility guy off the bench.
Yeah, he had a great spring, I thought, and really took some steps forward. And, of course, I know you've been asked about him a million times. I know I have. If I had $1 for every time, I'd be a rich man. But did you see anything out of Ben Davis during the practice?
No, which is kind of what, it's just for whatever reason he hasn't quite fulfilled his potential yet. I also don't think he has the greatest first step, which is kind of crucial for the position that he's playing. So, he's still out there. He's still plugging away. And, maybe he's just one of those guys that just takes a little longer to, for it to click.
And now we inevitably go to the quarterbacks. I'm assuming they were splitting today, the reps with the first team. Of course, it's hard to tell anything with the short media viewing period. But did we see out of Jalen Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa?
Yeah, it really didn't see much today because primarily we see the individual drills, and they were kind of going through the same stuff that we normally see. It looks like there's kind of splitting things up between the two of them, especially. A guy who actually kind of turned my head a little bit during fan day is Mac Jones. I thought he played pretty darn well. This is a guy who's coming on, and and you kind of have to look at the quarterback situation when they have such few guys, and if they lose one for whatever reason, is he going to be ready to step up? And based on what I've seen so far, I think he is. I think he's made some major strides.
Yeah, I thought he looked pretty good as well. I was even impressed with the young freshman, Chris. I thought he showed a lot more zip on the ball than you could tell on film, and sometimes that's why you have to see these guys close up. I thought on Saturday Lane Hatcher impressed a little bit.
Yeah, and they've only been on campus for a short period of time. They haven't even had pads on yet, so it's some of these guys, what you see, can be a little bit of a, I don't want to say misdirection kind of thing, but first impressions were good. Yeah, I'll put it that way.
Yeah, no question about it. I think he was one of the surprises. But also talk about what you saw on that offensive line. We were hearing a little bit of buzz today that Leatherwood may have been slightly, dinged up a little bit.
Yeah, he was doing a drill where he kind of extended himself, and he kind of, he pulled something a little bit. Not. I don't think it was anything major. Just kind of had a strain, and he took himself out for just a round or two of drills, and Matt Womack stepped in there. I don't think it was anything serious, but I mean, it got my attention. When you see someone that big suddenly on the ground, it's like, ooh, okay, what happened? And he just kind of happened to do it when I was looking right at him.
Yeah, and then I thought also that I was, I didn't notice this. I thought he looked good running the football, but I was told later, that some people saw him limping a little bit. Did Josh Jacobs kind of seem limited today a little bit?
He did seem a little limited. I think they're just being a little cautious with him. I don't think it's anything serious.
Yeah, and he had a lot of injuries. We talked to him at SEC, at Fan Day. Pardon me. We talked to him Saturday, and he talked about the severe lower leg injury he had, and really from Game 5 on wasn't healthy. So it would be good to get him back to full speed. He could be a big time weapon for that offense. And now to go back to Fan Day, Chris, that's been our big topic today, as to be expected. I wanted to get your thoughts on it. You've covered this team. You've covered all these quarterback battles that Nick Saban has had throughout his tenure, and there have been quite a few. This one's different, though. Your thoughts on what we heard from Jalen Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa on Saturday?
Well, Tua kind of did the usual with him. I'm happy to be here. Everything's great. Laid back Hawaiian style. You kind of expect him to kick back and almost pull up a chair and pull out a little, maybe a virgin daiquiri or something like that while he was talking to the media. Jalen was different, obviously, and it was interesting because both quarterbacks were made available, and this is probably the only time that they're going to be available during camp. And they had them talking at the same time. And you may remember, a few years ago, even going back to like A.J. McCarron and Philip Sims, they did the same thing back then. And so it was like, okay, so you got to pick which guy you're going to go to. And I went to Jalen. And I actually asked the question when it was something simple like, how was your off season or something like that. And he used the term the elephant in the room. And right then and there, I was like, okay, here we go. I think Jalen felt like he had some stuff he had to get off his chest. And I think people need to remember that he's 19. He's going to be 20 tomorrow. And he said some things that he probably feels pretty good about that the coaching staff doesn't. And, that's going to happen sometimes. And, I don't think he necessarily helps himself, but, if he felt like he needed to do it, so be it. The thing that kind of really caught my attention when he was saying, the coaches haven't talked to me. And I'll tell you what, he's got a position coach, he's got an offensive coordinator, he's got a head coach, and he's got a strength and conditioning coach who he talks to every single day. You know? I mean,
Yeah.
you know Scott Cochran is going up to him every single day saying, how you doing? And I just, something just wasn't quite right. And, I guess he's frustrated. I get that, and it's been 6 months since the national championship game, and he got pulled, and that's a tough circumstance for anyone to go through. So, like I said, I don't think he helped himself with the coaching staff, but, maybe for his peace of mind, he felt like he needed to just, okay, I'm going to say something, and that was it. And for Alabama's point of view, like for a fan point of view, the fact that he did it at the start of training camp versus the end of training camp, night and day difference. I mean, this is something when we get into, scrimmages and so forth, and the starts playing out, it's kind of, most of it's going to take care of itself on the field. So, but if he had done this, say, the Saturday before playing Louisville, that would have been really different.
And then, but to me, it just seemed like it was maybe part of a plan that he and his family had. We saw his mother on social media, what she put out there. His father, of course, had spoken to Matt Hayes, of who you know very well, but right before the week of the A-Day game. But to me, it kind of seemed like a plan by Jalen Hurts. Do you think that was what it was, or do you think it was just simply Jalen trying to be cathartic in his own mind?
I think, and I want to preface this by saying, I know Matt Hayes really well.
Right.
Good guy, good reporter. I think Matt Hayes was surprised by the kind of the attention that story got. And I think he was surprised by the headline that the people that he works for put on the story and sensationalized it, because they just took that one line and kind of, blew it up. But having said that, I think Jalen thought long and hard about what he was going to say when he had the chance. Like I said before, my question to him was very simple. How'd you deal with the off season, or how was your off season, kind of thing? And he started going in that direction. He led that interview that direction. It wasn't the reporters leading him. It was the exact opposite. So, for whatever reason, like I kind of mentioned, he felt like he needed to do that. We'll see how it plays out.
And Chris, you're a veteran of this beat. I've been around it for a few years, but you certainly have been to many a press conference. Should we brace ourselves Wednesday for Nick Saban?
Now, and that's everyone's reaction. Everyone thinks he's going to blow up on Wednesday. I think he's going to go in the opposite direction. I think he's going to do whatever he can to take the spotlight off of it. He's going to say, this is all going to get decided on the field. You got to remember, ESPN is here filming every single little thing. He's not going to blow up. He's not going to blow up in front of ESPN, especially when they're doing a reality show.
Yeah, that would definitely have another effect on recruiting, and not in a positive way, because certainly letting ESPN behind the curtain for the first time since 2010 is a big deal, and it's going to be on ESPN. I believe the first episode is August the 9th. And and what are your thoughts on this behind-the-scenes look? We've already seen a snippet of it, and I know they're going to do a Sports Center special also, but your thoughts on this look behind the curtain of Alabama football, almost 10 years since we had the last one.
Well, first off, I'm finally glad to see somebody was allowed to videotape the freshmen on the tubes behind the boat, because
yes.
For years I've been hearing about how Saban loves to get those guys, just send them, flying. And they actually have to keep a stockpile of cheap bathing suits at the Saban house, because those guys go flying so hard they actually lose their suits half the time. So
wow.
It was fun for me seeing, on Sports Center last night, some of that, and I'm assuming that's going to be part of the first episode. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that. I don't think we're going to learn too much, during this whole process with the show. Maybe we will. I don't know, because it's, if they get the players sitting down and talking and they get some real good stuff out of them, that'll be fun to see, because we don't get that much access anymore. So, it's one thing about journalism today. Well, it's true anytime. The best stories are always about people. They're never about events. They're never about really big moments. It's about the people involved. And so if if they can humanize Alabama a little bit, and they can show these guys of, hey, they're winners, but they're doing all this other stuff and they're having fun. It's going to be a huge recruiting tool for Alabama.
It really is. And speaking of recruiting, I know you want people to check out your new venture. Tell everybody how to be a part of BamaCentral.com and, of course, where they can connect with you on your Twitter account to read your outstanding work, sir.
Yeah, BamaCentral.com. It's part of it's called the Maven, which is a new thing online, which if you don't know much about now, you're going to hear a lot about it. It's going to be kind of the next wave. And we want people to participate. We have this thing called Conversations, which is like our version of the message board. If you see a good story on another website, or if you have something on your mind, post it, and we'll get what we call these conversations going and get feedback and so forth. So there's no paywall. It's a new venture, and we're going to have a little bit of everything. We want it to be the hub for Alabama sports.
And of course, you can connect with Chris at Writing Walsh on Twitter. We always appreciate the time, sir. I know it was a hot one out there, but thank you for coming on, giving us your observations from practice and your thoughts. Always great catching up with you here in Tuscaloosa on Tide 102.9. Thank you, Chris.
No, thank you. Appreciate it.